The journey of Virgo through life is one of sacred refinement, devoted service, and the gradual unfolding of a soul called to perfect not only itself but the world around it. Governed by Mercury, Virgo begins its path with a sharp intellect, an observant eye, and a quiet, powerful desire to improve everything it touches. This sign carries within it a divine blueprint, an invisible set of instructions etched in the soul, whispering the need for order, integrity, and meaning. From a young age, Virgo often feels a pressure to get things right. There is a sensitivity to flaws, both external and internal, and a restless impulse to correct what is broken, to organize chaos into structure, to purify the impure. This impulse is not superficial. It is rooted in a deep soul memory, a connection to an archetypal force that strives toward perfection not out of vanity, but out of reverence for life's sacred design. Virgo senses that everything has a purpose and that its role is to help bring that purpose to light. Early in life, this can manifest as self-criticism, anxiety, and overthinking. Virgo may feel the weight of the world's imperfection pressing upon them, reacting to the smallest imbalance with a sense of urgency. The world may not understand this internal rigor, and Virgo might wrestle with feeling misunderstood or undervalued. Yet this tension is part of the sacred fire that tempers the Virgo spirit. It is through the confrontation with imperfection that Virgo begins to understand its true strength, the ability to heal, refine, and elevate. As Virgo matures, the lessons of discernment take center stage. Not everything can or should be fixed. Not all battles are worth fighting. Virgo learns to shift from harsh judgment to compassionate clarity. The critical eye is gradually transformed into sacred vision. Virgo begins to see the beauty in the flawed, the divine in the ordinary, and the healing power in presence. This is the time when Virgo's heart opens, allowing its immense capacity for love and service to rise above perfectionism and flow freely into the world. With each Saturn return, each Pluto transit, each eclipse that crosses Virgo's sky, the soul of Virgo is sculpted into greater authenticity. The sharp mind is tempered by experience. The desire to control is softened by trust in the unfolding of life. Virgo learns that service is not martyrdom, but an offering. That humility is not weakness, but the strength to stay grounded amid storms. It is through these lessons that Virgo begins to radiate a quiet power, the kind that doesn't seek the spotlight, but holds the light steadily for others. Virgo evolves into a teacher not by lecturing, but by embodying integrity. A guide not through dominance, but through unwavering presence. They become the sacred alchemist, turning the base metals of daily life into gold. Their words carry wisdom sharpened by introspection. Their actions ripple outward, creating harmony in invisible but profound ways. They are the architects of better systems, the silent healers behind the scenes, the wisdom keepers of practical magic. In the later chapters of life, Virgo often finds peace in simplicity. There is a turning inward, not from withdrawal but from understanding what truly matters. The soul of Virgo, having walked the long path from self-judgment to self-acceptance, now moves with quiet grace. They become mentors, healers, and stewards of wisdom. Their legacy is often subtle, woven into the lives they've touched, the systems they've improved, the care they've given in moments others deemed unimportant. Through a lifetime of refining and evolving, Virgo fulfills its highest calling: to serve as a vessel for divine order in a chaotic world, to offer healing through presence, and to remind all beings that greatness often lies not in grand displays, but in small, deliberate acts done with love and integrity. Virgo's evolution is not a straight line, but a sacred spiral. Each turn brings deeper humility, deeper mastery, and deeper love. It is an epic of soul craftsmanship, guided not by glory, but by devotion. A quiet epic, yes, but no less heroic. And in the stillness of that final act, when Virgo has offered all it has refined, perfected, and healed, the soul ascends not in noise, but in radiance, having turned life itself into a prayer. Virgo's evolution through life also involves a profound relationship with the element of earth, which shapes its soul's rhythm in tangible, grounded ways. The earth element imbues Virgo with a deep reverence for the physical world, for nature's quiet intelligence, and for the systems that hold life together. This connection calls Virgo to build, to stabilize, and to restore. It grants an innate understanding that growth is not always fast or dramatic, but often slow, cyclical, and rooted in discipline. Virgo becomes a guardian of the physical and energetic ecosystems of life, bringing balance not through domination, but through alignment with natural law. There is a hidden sacredness in Virgo's methodical nature. What others might dismiss as routine or mundane, Virgo recognizes as part of the sacred architecture of existence. Cleaning a space, organizing a shelf, preparing a meal, offering a word of guidance. These are not small acts to Virgo's soul. They are invocations. Through them, Virgo sanctifies daily life, returning the divine to the details. As the soul evolves, this understanding deepens, revealing that the divine is not distant or abstract but present in the fabric of every moment, awaiting acknowledgement through conscious action. Virgo is intimately tied to the archetype of the healer, and not solely in a physical sense. It holds ancient memories of temple work, of tending sacred fires, of scribing knowledge, of mending both the body and the spirit. Whether through traditional medicine, holistic practices, or simply the art of listening, Virgo carries within it a timeless urge to mend what is frayed. Yet this healing capacity is only awakened fully after Virgo heals itself. It is through facing its own inner fragmentation, its own doubts and harsh internal dialogues, that Virgo gains the compassion and precision needed to guide others through their healing journeys. The path of Virgo is also a dance between intuition and logic. Although ruled by Mercury and renowned for its analytical strength, Virgo's intuition is just as powerful, often appearing in quiet knowings and subtle inner nudges. This intuitive intelligence is linked not to fantasy but to deep observation and energetic sensitivity. As the Virgo soul matures, it learns to marry intellect with inner guidance, forming a sacred alliance that enables it to see truth from multiple dimensions. This union births a rare form of wisdom, grounded, clear, and incorruptible. Throughout life, Virgo is challenged to confront its relationship with control. It often begins life trying to manage the outer world in an attempt to create safety within. But true mastery arises when Virgo relinquishes control over outcomes and places its faith in process. Trust becomes the higher octave of discernment. Through loss, through failure, through surrender, Virgo uncovers an inner serenity far more powerful than certainty. This transition from control to trust is one of the most heroic transformations Virgo can undergo. It requires a leap into the unknown, an embrace of imperfection, and the realization that not all order is human-made. There is a cosmic order, invisible yet ever-present, that Virgo eventually learns to serve. The connection between Virgo and the body is another channel of deep wisdom. Virgo evolves through the embodiment of its values. As it grows, it becomes increasingly sensitive to the messages of the physical form, not only in health matters but as a spiritual instrument. Virgo begins to see the body as a temple, a sacred bridge between matter and spirit. The alignment of mind, body, and soul becomes essential, not for vanity, but for clarity and vitality. Rituals, breath, movement, nourishment. These become acts of devotion, ways in which Virgo honors life through its very form. Service is Virgo's greatest offering and its greatest test. In early life, Virgo may serve from a place of obligation, self-worth, or even invisibility. But through experience, the soul discovers that true service is empowered, not sacrificial. It is born from love, not guilt. Virgo learns to set boundaries, to say no with strength, and to offer with authenticity. In doing so, it reclaims its role not as a servant, but as a sovereign steward of purpose. The most evolved Virgo serves without losing itself, heals without absorbing pain, and gives without draining its reserves. This is sacred service, clean, conscious, and lasting. There is also a poetic essence hidden within Virgo. Though often associated with logic and precision, Virgo's connection to Mercury lends a subtle artistry, a craftsperson's devotion to language, detail, and structure. Over time, this can bloom into writing, music, storytelling, or any medium where the invisible is made visible. Virgo's expression is not explosive, but intricate, like the brushstrokes of a master painter, or the quiet harmony of a well-composed symphony. Through these forms, Virgo channels the divine order it so deeply feels. As the decades pass and the soul ripens, Virgo becomes increasingly aligned with its dharma, its spiritual path. The youthful doubt and striving dissolve into confident humility. The need to prove transforms into the desire to contribute. The inner critic evolves into the inner sage. Virgo becomes a beacon of quiet leadership, of refined strength, of sacred consistency. The world may not always celebrate these traits, but those who walk closely with Virgo know their immeasurable worth. In times of chaos, it is Virgo's grounded light that restores equilibrium. In moments of confusion, it is Virgo's clarity that becomes a compass. The soul of Virgo does not evolve in grand explosions, but in concentric circles of refinement. It deepens, distills, and dedicates. Every season brings another layer of insight, another step toward wholeness. And when at last Virgo stands at the threshold of the great beyond, it does so with the grace of one who has lived in harmony with life's intricate design. Having woven healing into the hours, having honored truth through action, having loved through service, Virgo returns to the stars not with fanfare, but with fulfillment. Its journey is a quiet epic, one of sacred responsibility, of sacred craft, and of sacred love made manifest in the world. Through humility, Virgo finds greatness. Through patience, it discovers power. And through devotion, it becomes eternal. The evolution of Virgo is also deeply intertwined with the concept of sacred timing. Unlike signs propelled by urgency or impulsiveness, Virgo's growth is ruled by divine cycles that unfold through patient observation and consistent effort. This alignment with natural rhythms allows Virgo to become a master of timing, not through force, but through attunement. As life progresses, Virgo becomes increasingly adept at sensing when to act, when to hold back, when to harvest, and when to plant new seeds. This sense of rhythm is not born of luck, but of deep listening and inner calibration. In a world obsessed with speed, Virgo's wisdom teaches that true transformation requires presence and pacing. There is an alchemical essence in Virgo's nature that becomes more potent with age. At the beginning, Virgo may only sense fragments of this inner power, a flicker of insight, an instinctive correction, an unspoken understanding of how things could be improved. But as the years pass and the soul is forged through trials and devotion, this alchemy becomes conscious. Virgo realizes that it can not only perceive patterns but transform them. It can take inherited dysfunction and redesign it. It can take emotional wounds and extract healing codes. Virgo becomes an energetic purifier, absorbing the chaos of the world and distilling it into clarity and usefulness, not through absorption, but through transmutation. This power does not demand recognition. It simply works, consistently and quietly, changing lives from the inside out. Virgo's relationship to solitude is another hidden dimension of its evolution. Though naturally sociable when needed, Virgo thrives in sacred withdrawal. Solitude offers a sanctuary where the Virgo soul can cleanse its energy, reflect on its purpose, and realign with truth. These quiet spaces become crucibles of transformation, where insights rise unforced and where inner recalibration takes place. Over time, Virgo comes to cherish these moments not as escapes from the world, but as pilgrimages into the center of its being. From this stillness emerges a deeper strength, an unshakable knowing that guides all outer action with precision and peace. One of Virgo's greatest evolutionary arcs is the journey from fragmentation to wholeness. Virgo often begins life feeling as though it must earn its place, prove its worth, and refine itself endlessly. There can be a sense of inadequacy, a quiet fear of never being enough. But this wound is the entry point into Virgo's eventual realization that wholeness was never about flawlessness. It was always about integration. As Virgo matures, it begins to reclaim all parts of itself, the logical and the intuitive, the orderly and the chaotic, the helper and the healer. Through this reclamation, Virgo becomes whole not by being perfect, but by being fully present, fully human, and fully aligned with its inner truth. The Virgo path is also marked by karmic threads connected to service, craft, and duty. Many Virgo souls carry the imprint of lifetimes spent in roles of sacred work. Scribes, herbalists, monks, healers, architects, and temple attendants. These past life echoes are not memories so much as subtle urges, an unexplainable pull towards certain practices, disciplines, and vocations that feel like home. As Virgo grows in awareness, it begins to recognize these patterns and honor them, weaving ancient wisdom into modern life with seamless grace. This continuity across lifetimes strengthens Virgo's sense of purpose, allowing it to fulfill not only its current mission, but also to complete soul contracts that span across time. There is a quiet rebellion within the Virgo spirit, one that is often overlooked because it does not roar, it refines. Virgo challenges the world not by rejecting it loudly, but by perfecting it silently. In the face of apathy, Virgo brings care. In the face of disarray, Virgo brings order. In the face of chaos, Virgo offers a blueprint for restoration. This rebellion is sacred. It does not seek to tear down, but to rebuild with integrity. Virgo becomes a living example that radical transformation is possible through consistent, conscious action. It proves that change does not always come through fire. It can also come through the gentle, persistent wind that shapes mountains. As Virgo ages, there is often a blossoming into subtle forms of leadership. Not the type that seeks power or dominance, but the leadership of presence, of reliability, of excellence in the unseen. Virgo leads by example. Its actions become teachings. Its words carry weight because they are backed by integrity. Younger souls turn to Virgo for guidance not because it demands their attention, but because it radiates something timeless and trustworthy. The Virgo elder becomes a keeper of sacred knowledge, a guardian of what works, and a custodian of wisdom honed through decades of practice and humility. The spiritual dimension of Virgo's journey reveals itself more clearly with time. Though grounded and pragmatic, Virgo is deeply spiritual, not in lofty abstraction, but in living devotion. The divine, for Virgo, is not distant. It is found in the breath, in the soil, in the systems that sustain life. Virgo prays through action, meditates through maintenance, and communes with the sacred by tending to the details that others overlook. As the soul ripens, Virgo's connection to spirit becomes more fluid, more embodied. Every step becomes a form of worship. Every act of care becomes a thread in a tapestry of sacred living. Ultimately, Virgo's path is that of the divine artisan, the sacred healer, the invisible architect of better worlds. It is not the path of fanfare, but of legacy. Virgo leaves behind systems that work, gardens that grow, people who are stronger because of its care. Its legacy is not always seen in monuments, but in the quiet continuance of things that last. Through its evolution, Virgo teaches that greatness lies not in dramatic gestures, but in sustained devotion. That the soul's true growth is found in the way we do small things. That the highest magic is not escape, but mastery of the present moment. And when the Virgo soul finally departs this world, it does so having restored order, healed fractures, and infused the mundane with the divine. It leaves behind a trail of restoration, proof that even in a world full of imperfection, one life lived with intention can ripple across generations, carrying the essence of quiet greatness into eternity. Virgo's lifelong journey is also deeply tied to the archetype of the sacred guardian, the protector of purity, knowledge, and sacred space. In a world that often loses itself in superficiality and distraction, Virgo carries the ancestral memory of what is essential. There is a timeless flame that burns within this sign, one that refuses to forget the original covenant between soul and service, between matter and meaning. This inner covenant drives Virgo to preserve what is true, to defend the subtle truths that many overlook, and to keep alive the values that civilization too easily abandons in pursuit of speed and spectacle. One of the most profound yet less acknowledged aspects of Virgo's evolution is its connection to ritual. Virgo thrives in rhythm and repetition not out of habit alone, but because it understands that discipline, when aligned with purpose, becomes a channel for the sacred to flow. The rituals Virgo creates, whether in the morning silence, in the meticulous tending of a task, or in the way it nurtures a space, are not routines in the mundane sense. They are sacred acts, living prayers encoded into action. As Virgo matures, it discovers that through these rituals it is not only organizing life but invoking spiritual alignment, anchoring the divine into the material world in a way that is both enduring and transformative. There is also a quiet wildness in Virgo, a connection to the primal wisdom of the earth that is often hidden beneath its composed exterior. Virgo is a sign of harvest, of the earth's bounty and cycles, and in its deepest essence, it is a steward of nature's rhythms. With time, Virgo often feels called to reconnect with the land, with plants, with the healing properties of the natural world. This reconnection is not simply about lifestyle, but about a return to the root, a reclamation of a soul's ancient bond with Gaia. In this communion, Virgo awakens deeper healing abilities, ancient wisdom stored in the body and the hands, and an intuitive sense of how to work in harmony with the Earth's living intelligence. Virgo's evolution also involves a profound transformation of its relationship with vulnerability. In its early stages, Virgo may seek to protect itself through perfection, through knowledge, through constant improvement. It may avoid being seen too clearly, fearing the exposure of flaws or failures. But over time, life carves through those defenses, and Virgo begins to understand that true strength lies not in being invulnerable, but in being open, real, and compassionate in the midst of life's imperfection. The most powerful Virgo is not the most flawless, but the most human. One who allows its heart to be touched, who stands in the light and shadow with equal grace, and who has the courage to be both the healer and the healing. The soul of Virgo is often entrusted with hidden burdens, the silent sufferings, the unspoken responsibilities, the invisible work of holding things together for others. This weight, though rarely acknowledged, forges a strength that is spiritual in nature. Virgo learns how to carry what others cannot see and still move with purpose. But part of its spiritual initiation involves learning when to lay down those burdens, when to rest, when to be held rather than hold. This lesson may come late, but when it does, Virgo rises anew, no longer a silent martyr, but a conscious co-creator of balance. It no longer equates self-worth with sacrifice, but with alignment. In this space, Virgo's power multiplies, rooted not in depletion but in wholeness. There is a sacred silence that surrounds the Virgo soul. Not the silence of passivity, but the silence of depth. Virgo listens not just with ears but with the soul. It notices the unspoken, it hears the language of energy, it translates the unsaid into understanding. This sensitivity grows with time, making Virgo not only a healer of the body but a reader of hearts. This silent perception becomes a gift that guides relationships, nurtures sacred work, and fosters deep trust. Others feel seen by Virgo in ways they cannot explain. They feel safe, understood, and gently invited to become more themselves. Virgo's destiny is often intertwined with service to a collective purpose. Whether through medicine, education, art, justice, or care, Virgo does not exist to chase individual glory, but to restore integrity to the larger whole. This calling becomes louder as life goes on, and Virgo increasingly aligns with causes that reflect its core values. The soul begins to channel its gifts not just toward personal success but toward collective healing. Through this alignment, Virgo becomes part of a greater movement, a quiet revolution of excellence, compassion, and integrity that uplifts humanity from the inside out. There is also a cosmic humility in Virgo that becomes a beacon in an age of noise. Virgo does not need to be the loudest voice to be heard. Its power comes through resonance, through the quiet mastery that speaks volumes in stillness. Virgo teaches by presence, by consistency, by walking its path with dignity. As the soul evolves, this humility becomes magnetic. People seek Virgo not for entertainment, but for grounding, not for spectacle, but for truth. This is the sign of the sacred servant who becomes the silent leader, whose legacy is measured not in fame, but in how deeply it helped others remember who they are. As Virgo approaches the later stages of life, its wisdom crystallizes into grace. The battles of early self-doubt transform into inner confidence. The perfectionism of youth becomes the elegance of precision. The urge to fix becomes the joy of witnessing. There is a luminous clarity in the Virgo elder, one who has walked through inner storms and emerged as a master of the small and the significant. This being becomes a living mandala of purpose, every act infused with consciousness, every word chosen with care, every moment a reflection of devotion. In the final arc of its journey, Virgo embodies the truth that greatness is not born from grandeur but from intentionality, that love is not always loud, but constant, that the most sacred things in life are not always seen, but always felt. And when the Virgo soul completes its cycle, it leaves behind not only a legacy of service, but an imprint of sacred order woven into the world it touched. This is the quiet triumph of a life well lived, a life anchored in meaning, healed through effort, and elevated by unwavering love. As Virgo continues its sacred unfolding through life, it begins to access dimensions of mastery that are rooted in the ancient alchemy of refinement. This sign is ruled by Mercury, but not in the flighty or trickster way often attributed to the planet. Instead, Virgo channels the crystalline, exacting face of Mercury, the scribe of divine order, the intellectual priest who brings heaven to earth through language, symbols, systems, and discernment. In this lifetime, Virgo's soul is entrusted with the mission of translation, to make the ineffable intelligible, to take cosmic chaos and shape it into practical insight, to take spirit and render it into service. This ability becomes sharper as life passes, until Virgo becomes a kind of sacred architect, a cartographer of truth who charts invisible realms and gives them tangible expression. Virgo's role in the zodiac is not only to heal or serve, but to purify the collective experience of embodiment. In many ways, Virgo is the alchemist of form, understanding that matter itself is not separate from spirit but is its chosen vessel. This awareness calls Virgo to uphold standards that are not imposed by ego but received from the soul. These standards are not limitations, they are expressions of reverence. The Virgo path is one that demands devotion to excellence not as performance, but as praise. In the act of refining, of perfecting, Virgo is not chasing flawlessness. It is honoring the divine spark within all things, restoring dignity to the seemingly ordinary. There is a cosmic intelligence woven through Virgo's analytical nature that allows it to perceive the subtle architecture of reality. As its consciousness expands, Virgo begins to recognize patterns in everything, from human behavior to the cycles of time, from language to ecosystems. This awareness becomes a gift of strategic vision. Not only does Virgo see how things are, it begins to sense how they could be, and what must be removed, reordered, or refined to make space for that potential. This is a sacred skill, one that makes Virgo a vessel for evolution itself. With time, Virgo no longer seeks to micromanage details from fear. It manages them from love, from a soul-level understanding that order is the language through which healing speaks. An often unspoken power within Virgo is its relationship to silence and sacred speech. Unlike signs that speak to be heard, Virgo speaks to transmit truth. Words are not casual for this sign. They are medicine. With Mercury's influence and Virgo's ear for precision, language becomes a tool of great influence. But Virgo only finds the full power of its voice after years of inner work, after clearing the inner noise, the doubt, the fear of imperfection. When this internal silence is claimed, Virgo begins to speak with clarity that cuts through illusion, with humility that commands respect, with a groundedness that opens minds. In this stage of evolution, Virgo's words are like sacred codes, recalibrating the minds and hearts of those who receive them. One of the soul-level lessons for Virgo is learning to see itself through the lens of compassion rather than critique. In early life, Virgo often experiences the world as a mirror that reflects its perceived imperfections. It becomes hyper-aware of its own flaws, comparing, correcting, editing the self in a tireless loop. This inner pressure is not rooted in vanity but in a deep desire to be in alignment. Yet true growth comes when Virgo begins to see its sensitivity not as a weakness but as a refined instrument of awareness. The very traits that once made Virgo feel small become the tools of its ascension. Its exacting nature becomes discernment. Its caution becomes wisdom. its reserve becomes grace. This alchemical turning point marks the soul's awakening to its divine design. Virgo also walks a path of karmic responsibility that transcends the personal. Often incarnating with an inner sense of duty, Virgo feels the weight of systems, families, and even ancestral patterns that need mending. This can manifest as early burdens or roles where Virgo must become the stabilizer, the one who sees what others miss. But part of Virgo's evolution is learning to differentiate sacred service from unconscious obligation. As the soul grows, it begins to lovingly untangle itself from codependency and guilt, learning that its energy is a sacred resource to be offered with intention, not given away through compulsion. This liberation is a rite of passage, and once crossed, Virgo's service becomes luminous, born of love, not pressure, radiating empowerment, not depletion. There is an initiatory process Virgo undergoes in learning to surrender. While its mastery lies in control and precision, its enlightenment lies in trust. Trust in the unfolding, in the imperfection of process, in the intelligence of life beyond human plans. The Virgo soul eventually learns to see beauty not only in what is whole, but in what is becoming whole. It honors the cracked edges, the unfinished chapters, the flawed attempts as part of the sacred spiral. This shift from perfection to presence liberates Virgo from its own constraints and allows it to dwell in joy. Not fleeting pleasure, but deep joy, the kind that is born when nothing needs to be fixed, only witnessed with reverence. Virgo's sacred maturity is marked by an almost mystical relationship with time. No longer ruled by deadlines and pressure, the evolved Virgo becomes a weaver of cycles. It senses when to initiate, when to pause, when to reap, and when to rest. This is the signature of a soul that has integrated its earth nature with celestial awareness. It no longer seeks only to organize calendars or tasks. It seeks to live in harmony with cosmic timing. This gives Virgo a quiet power in later life, a serenity born of alignment. Its presence becomes reassuring to others, its counsel becomes prophetic, and its sense of timing becomes almost oracular. Eventually, Virgo becomes the temple itself, not merely the builder, the healer, or the servant, but the embodiment of sacred space. Through a life lived with integrity, humility, and intention, Virgo transforms its very being into a sanctuary for others. People come into its presence and feel clearer, more grounded, more themselves. The evolved Virgo becomes a living ritual, each breath an offering, each word a vibration of love. And this is its highest expression, not simply to refine the world, but to become a vessel through which the divine refines the world. This is the epic of Virgo's soul, a quiet revolution, a slow and steady blaze, a love so exact it heals everything it touches. It is the testament of a life shaped not by glory but by devotion, not by dominance but by discernment, not by conquest but by care. And in the end, it is Virgo who stands as the silent witness to a world restored by 1,000 small miracles, all born from the sacred hands of one who never stopped believing in the power of making things better. As Virgo's journey continues beyond the known arcs of discipline, service, and refinement, it ventures into a more esoteric realm of becoming. This is where Virgo transcends the mundane perception of self-improvement and steps into the archetype of the sacred initiator. Here, Virgo is no longer simply the guardian of order and the caretaker of systems. It becomes a guide for the awakening soul. Through countless acts of devotion and unseen labor, Virgo earns the right to hold keys to deeper mysteries. These are not mysteries of dominance or cosmic drama, but of silent transformation. Virgo becomes the midwife of awakening, the silent hand that helps others cross thresholds within themselves. In the highest stages of its evolution, Virgo becomes attuned to the power of humility not as submission, but as strength. This humility is not born from weakness or self-negation. It is forged in the fire of self-knowledge. Virgo learns that true wisdom does not scream, it listens. True power does not impose, it inspires. This humble mastery is what allows Virgo to become a channel for divine intelligence. Its actions become precise not because they are calculated, but because they are clear. This clarity comes not from intellect alone, but from purity of intention, from a heart that has been honed through lifetimes of sacred labor. Virgo is inherently connected to the cycles of healing not just in the physical sense, but in the psychic and spiritual realms. Over time, the Virgo soul begins to understand that illness and disorder are not enemies, but messengers. The evolved Virgo learns to listen to the whisper of imbalance and trace it back to its origin, not merely treating symptoms, but illuminating the soul's cry for alignment. This deeper diagnostic ability becomes a spiritual gift. It is not about fixing people. It is about helping them remember their original harmony. Virgo holds the archetype of the priestess or priest-physician, the one who reads both the body and the energy field, who discerns between trauma and truth, and who offers not just remedies, but restoration. There is a hidden poetry in Virgo's path that often goes unrecognized. Beneath its precision lies a profound capacity for sacred beauty. Virgo's affinity for detail becomes, in time, an appreciation for the divine symmetry of all things. It starts to see beauty in the fractured, the unfinished, the unnoticed. What others discard, Virgo redeems. What others rush past, Virgo pauses to honor. This aesthetic sensibility is not superficial, it is devotional. Virgo begins to realize that beauty itself is a form of healing, that every act of elegance is an offering to the divine. In this stage, Virgo becomes not only the healer, but the artist of life, creating sacred space and sacred presence through even the smallest gestures. Virgo's relationship with solitude also deepens and evolves. Early in life, solitude may be experienced as loneliness or a refuge from overstimulation. But as the soul matures, Virgo begins to crave solitude not to escape, but to commune. It is in stillness that Virgo touches the divine blueprint. It is in silence that the deeper currents of truth reveal themselves. Virgo's solitude becomes sacred, a holy retreat where it renews its clarity and connects with purpose. Over time, the Virgo soul becomes a guardian of silence itself, understanding that not all communication requires words, and that the greatest revelations often arrive in the absence of noise. As Virgo becomes increasingly aligned with its spiritual path, it learns to work with the archetypal energies of purification on all levels. This is not limited to physical health or organization. It extends to the mind, the emotions, the relationships it holds, and even the energy fields around it. Virgo becomes adept at clearing distortion, at bringing light into confusion, at naming what is misaligned and offering the tools to bring it back into coherence. This is the Virgo soul in full bloom, not merely tidy, but crystalline, not merely organized, but resonant. It begins to act as a tuning fork for others, simply by being. People recalibrate in Virgo's presence not because it demands change, but because it embodies alignment. One of the most transcendent expressions of Virgo lies in its ability to hold contradiction without judgment. As its wisdom grows, Virgo understands that life is not either slash or it is both slash, and it embraces the paradox of effort and surrender, of order and chaos, of purity and messiness. This capacity allows Virgo to hold space for others' healing without rushing their process. It no longer seeks to correct from discomfort, but to support from compassion. This shift is monumental. It transforms Virgo from a fixer into a guardian of wholeness. It no longer seeks to create perfect outcomes, but to create containers where transformation can occur. Virgo's epic tale is also marked by its increasing ability to lead from behind. In a world obsessed with spectacle, Virgo teaches the strength of invisible influence. It does not need the spotlight because it knows where true impact lives, in the ripple, in the seed, in the unseen moment that shifts everything. Virgo's legacy is often carried forward by others who have been transformed by its care, shaped by its discernment, lifted by its belief in their better selves. Virgo leads by nurturing excellence in others, by recognizing their sacred potential even when they do not. This is a rare and holy form of leadership, one that does not seek credit, but catalyzes greatness. The final dimension of Virgo's ascension lies in its ability to become one with the divine through action. Unlike mystical signs that dissolve into transcendence, Virgo ascends through the material. Every act, every word, every choice becomes a sacrament. This is the essence of Virgo's mystical path, to sanctify the ordinary, to see God in the details, to serve not out of duty, but as a living embodiment of love in form. In this way, Virgo completes its cosmic mission, to remind humanity that divinity is not far away or abstract, but present in every breath, in every gesture, in every act of sincere devotion. This is the silent triumph of Virgo's soul, a path walked not in fanfare, but in footsteps that leave the world more whole, a life devoted not to control, but to care, a legacy not written in monuments, but in healed hearts, in systems restored to balance, in lives transformed by grace. This is the quiet revolution of Virgo, a revolution of light, service, truth, and enduring love.